So the three necessary conditions, minimal necessary conditions for knowledge, are truth, belief, and justification. It behooves us to examine various theories regarding the nature of these three things so that we might have a better understanding of the broad ways in which knowledge is understood in epistemology. Right? Let's start with theories of truth. Right? There are three main theories of truth. Right? Um, there is the coherentist theory, or coherence theory of truth. There is the correspondence theory of truth, and then there is the pragmatic theory of truth. Right? And each one paints truth in a different light. Right? The coherence theory of truth says that a statement or a belief is true if and only if it fits in or it coheres with a system of beliefs, right? Of existing beliefs. Right? So what this means is that, something isn't true in and of itself. Right? It's true as it relates to other beliefs. Right? Now, this is okay when it comes to things like science and whatnot, right? Scientific facts are facts, right? But they're facts in light of their relationship to prevailing theories and whatnot, right? This is a good way of thinking about the evolution of knowledge, right? And it fits with this too. Um, to a certain degree. Right? The idea that a scientific, a belief regarding a scientific fact is supported by evidence, that evidence helping it fit within the framework of existing prevailing theories and whatnot. Right? And so too with like individual personal beliefs. Right? Uh, Problem with this particular view, one of the problems with the coherence theory of truth is that, well, there are plenty of beliefs we have that don't cohere well with other beliefs. Humans, as a general principle, tend to be very hypocritical to a certain degree. Um, and an additional problem is that it paints a picture of truth as just what's the best fit, what's the best built system, having nothing to do with the way things actually are, which is something that we tend to want in a theory of truth. Right? Um, so you can have a very well-built system that explains a lot of things, but is inherently problematic in its presentation. Right? Think of worldviews. Right? You can have racist worldviews that are coherent. Right? That doesn't necessarily make them true, however. Right? So you can see that justification uh, incoherence is really more a function of how well our beliefs fit together than uh, you know how true they are. Right? And this is again problematic. Right? Um, think of the Humean theory of self. Right, the self is just a bundle of beliefs and impressions, ideas lashed together, and that's personal identity. Well, the coherence theory of truth is kind of like the Humean theory of self in that way. It's a little bit more organized and structured, but ultimately it's the lashing together of beliefs that fit well enough to make a raft. Um, the second theory of truth is the correspondence theory of truth. The correspondence theory of truth says that a statement or belief is true if and only if it corresponds to the way the world actually is. Right? So there's a one-to-one function relationship. You have a belief or a proposition in mind, right? And it either aligns with reality or it does not. Right? It's either true or it's false. It's 1 or it's 0. That's it. Right? So justification for belief on this one, on this matter, is it comes down to whether or not beliefs correspond to the way the world truly is. And in order for something to qualify as knowledge, it must reflect that one-to-one relationship, functional, the one-to-one onto functional relationship between truth and belief. What this means is that truth is very, very strict, right, on the correspondence theory. Very, very strict. And functionally, it leaves us with a lot of beliefs that aren't true. Right? This might be a strength or it might be a weakness of the theory. It really comes down to your own interpretation. Right? I tend to think that this is a strength of correspondence. Like, truth is really correspondent. The way that we actually can use the notion of truth is a different matter. Right? The final of the three theories of truth is the pragmatic theory of truth. This one's probably closest to the way that we actually do think of things, right? So a statement or a belief is true if and only if it works, right? That is, if it's useful. Right? And it allows us to predict the world in a meaningful and useful way. It allows us to, it's reliable, functionally. So justification for the pragmatic theory of truth is just, does it work? Okay, if it works and it's and I think it's true, then it's true. Right? On this version, we wouldn't accept things as true that don't consistently pan out, and this actually might have some explanation in some ability to explain how and why it is that we tend to reject things that go against our experience, right? Because they don't fit with the pragmatic truths that we normally operate under. Right? Outliers and exceptions, we have a harder time accepting or believing as being the case precisely because they don't fit with how we normally interact with the world. That's the pragmatic theory of truth.